you're done with Black Panther 2, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Already done. So, what tea can you give me without Marvel coming in and kidnapping both of us?
Man, not trying to get black bagged out here.
Yeah, exactly.
Jemele Hill was fantastic in memory of, but no, no. There's not much I could give you other than to let you know that it's something that there is deep respect for the life and memory of Chadwick Boseman. That is something that we had to wrestle with daily on set because there was a gaping hole when it came to his presence. You felt it daily. You felt him not being there, and he was a very gentle man and gentleman in a space. That was one thing that I could say super confidently. He was a very gentle presence of strength, power, and, you know, scope. You knew he was there, but he didn't have to say anything. He wasn't imposing any ideas on you. He wasn't walking around with a big ego, but you felt him, and he really conveyed leading man with great ease. And in such a way where when they're around, you don't even understand, you don't realize the impact when they're there. But when they're not, it is it is apparent. You know what I mean? You feel it, you know, intrinsically. And that was the experience on set daily for a year. And it took us a very long time to film during COVID with everything. And what I can tell you as well is that the movie is going to be big. The movie is very big. It's a big story. It's a big franchise for Disney. I think Disney and Marvel understands the gravitas of what Black Panther is, and I'm very excited for the world to see what we do with that. And it's an evolution of what was created with the first one, and it's very exciting.
Is it better than the first one, you think?
I stay away from qualifiers like better. You
Okay.
know, I feel getting away from comparative and competitive mindsets when it comes to art creation is very helpful for me. That's one of my unbothered tools and tips is staying away from a sense of competitive mindset and comparative mindset because they cannot be the same. The world that Black Panther won was ushered into is not the world that Black Panther 2 is ushered into. So it cannot be the same. So thinking of it as better or worse, it to me is a non-issue. I feel we made Black Panther 1 on the heels of Donald Trump becoming president in a world where we felt we couldn't trust each other, you know, from a man that said, you know, Mexico is sending us their worst, and people still voted for him. And you were looking at some of your friends saying, was it you?
Right.
Because I've had conversations with you about social justice and what really togetherness and brotherhood and allyship is, and to believe that you walked into a private room and potentially voted for a person, I don't know who I could trust. So for a while, right after that election, I remember this mass feeling of mistrust and distrust of like, who's around you? What are they really thinking? Am I completely wrong?
No, I mean, listen, I think that is why it, even though he's no longer in office, that spirit of division is still there.
It's still there.
It's still there just because the stench
Yes.
he has left
Yes.
is so thick
Yes.
in our country.
And
So,
that's the
yeah.
world that Black Panther 1 came into, a world of like initial division and a world that felt like it was losing hope
Right.
for from a world that literally was ushered in from hope. It was Obama, it was hope. It was
Right.
literally about hope. And Black Panther was one of those projects that brought back a sense of diasporatic hope. And I'm talking about the diaspora of all people. You know, not just the African diaspora, it's all the immigrant diasporas. Wakanda was this dream for people that tomorrow could be really better, could be something different, could be futurist, where we all get to live and be completely realized, right? So the idea of our history wasn't taken from us, and we could be so distinct, diverse, have conflict, but still be so nuanced in our conflict, you know? And that's something that resonated not just with black people, black Americans, it was actually quite global. So Black Panther 1 came into a world that was dealing with that, a place that didn't understand hope. Black Panther 1 didn't come into a world of quarantine. Black Panther 1 didn't come into a world of blockchain, of NFTs, of you know, actual, real, deep self-definition. So Black Panther 2 cannot be that. It can't be Black Panther 1 because where it came from, the world it came from isn't the same. And now we're going into this post-COVID world. What's that movie gonna mean? Because no matter what we make, it's still gonna be influenced by the landscape that it's being dropped into.
But not just the post-COVID world, post-George Floyd.
Post-George Floyd.
Right.
Post-mass protest. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? And I think a lot of things also get colored and contextualized, you know, and we're going to learn what Black Panther 2 is. I can't tell you what it is. Even if I told you the plot,
right,
I can't tell you what Black Panther 2 is because we've yet to meet the person, you know? It's a child.
So I'm of the opinion they should recast T'Challa because, you know, you look at Superman, you look at Batman, and we're going to talk about your Batman project in a minute, and they change all the time. And I think T'Challa and Black Panther is an idea. How do you feel about potentially that being recast?
I think for this iteration of Black Panther, it's very hard for me to like really comment on something like that because, you know, I'm of the mind that this is Chadwick's role. Chadwick created this, and Black Panther wouldn't be the same without Chadwick Boseman, who stood for the things that he stood for. So you didn't just cast an actor. And at this moment in casting, it's like I will never play a gay man or a trans person in film because that wouldn't be right. When you cast a person, you're also casting their experiences, you're casting their politics, you're casting all these things. Black Panther was heavily defined by the actor that did it, in my opinion. So I feel that as is, and the decision that's been made to keep T'Challa, Chadwick Boseman's T'Challa, is one that has a lot of nobility in it. But you also have to, there's a level of trust that I think we should all have for a comic book world. For a comic book world that has multiple dimensions and parallel dimensions and multiple stories and possible futures and possible reimaginations in the past and just multiple universes that they're actually experimenting with. So I feel my level of trust is that the medium can support a diversity of interpretations that can actually make us all happy. And I just trust that that's somewhere in the future. I think Black Panther, I think T'Challa is a very important character to the narrative moving forward. So it's my hope that we just have to trust that somehow there's a universe where and how he could be reimagined. And that's one thing that I have. But for this movie, I'm very happy that they decided to embrace the narrative of us losing Chadwick Boseman and keeping it as such, you know, because I think it's really great to acknowledge any black man's humanity. And I feel that is what is being said. is that we're making a choice of to honor a real life event of a very outstanding black man that also represented all black men. And I think that's what's really beautiful about part of the casting of us in these movies is that at the end of the day, my opinion of why I was successful, why Chadwick Boseman is and was successful, why Daniel Kaluuya and every one of us are successful, that we actually are very reminiscent of everybody else. You got a cousin who looked like me. You have a cousin that looks like Daniel. You have a cousin that looks exactly like Chadwick, that smiles like Chadwick. And for a very long time, multiple industries have been saying, that's not what it's supposed to look like. That's not what beauty is supposed to look like. That's not what a star is supposed to look like. That's not what a leader, what a hero, what, the one person in the center of the frame is supposed to look like. And they put us all in there and said, I could frame up on that. I could frame up on your cousin. I could frame up on your brother. I could frame up on all these different people. So that's what honoring him and keeping him in that thing meant to me. It means that I matter.